Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Billy Roberts. I'm a concept artist and illustrator, and in today's video we'll be talking about the top 5 tips that I have for you all when it comes to digital painting, concept art, and illustration. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the content, and let's go. So here we have the illustration slash study that I did. You could also call it concept art. That's where we get into a weird mix of things, and that's why I would like to start my first tip by saying concept art, illustration, digital painting, without being too confusing, it's pretty much all the same thing. The only difference between them is that you are emphasizing different principles in the execution professionally, but the process of going from point A to point B is very, very simple. So tip number 1 for that is don't confuse yourself with the differences of these things. Pick the thing that you like to draw, pick the thing that you are fascinated with and always drives you with inspiration, and just study that thing and practice drawing that thing and practice painting that thing, and maybe come up with new designs from that world that you're already interested in, because in my opinion that is the best thing you could possibly do early on in your creative journey as a artist. Just find the thing that inspires you every day and keep doing that thing, and before you know it, you're not worried about what should I do, how do I study, what's this and what's that. You're just learning, and that's actually how we learn, is by applying ourselves to the subject in a meaningful way, whether it's doing studies like I'm doing now where I'm replicating, or just from your imagination, from what you've seen and what you've read. So my big tip there is do what you like and don't confuse yourself, because it's not that confusing. My second tip that I wanted to share with everyone, it's a no-brainer one. It's one of those ones where it's almost too simple to be mentioned, but in my opinion it's the hero, right? It's the thing that takes you from, let's say, 30 to 80, and very quickly as well if you are consistent. And that is studies like I'm showing you today. That is very, very important that we apply ourselves to studies. In this case, my study is I'm not one-for-one copying. The reason why is because I've done enough of that in my creative journey. I don't need to do more of that. Whether what I'm actually doing is I'm taking what I see on the left and I'm converting it to something new on the right. And it can be a no-brainer, right? That one is called referencing. But in this case, it's sort of a mixture between studying and using the stuff on the as the study material to one, and referencing. It's sort of a combination of both. So I would say my next tip for everyone that's trying to get better in 2025, and they want to develop and they want to feel like they're progressing quickly and they want to feel like their art skills are heading in the right direction, rest assured, this one here is the big one. You could do nothing else but study and replicate and put an image on the left and then put an image on the right, and you are somewhat copying that image, but you're more or less observing what you see to create something epic on the other side. So tip number 2 is study from references. and do that if you can every day. Tip number 3 is an interesting one. It's something that has caused a lot of debate in the art community, especially I would say with like the less professional voices out there, and that is line art versus shape or painting. In my opinion, they are two different things with two different reasons why you would opt one in or cut one out. In my opinion, it doesn't matter. What you're really trying to figure out is, can I show the viewer what I want to show them? And if you can, then it doesn't matter how you got there. I would say the best advice I can give is stop worrying about what other people are doing, figure out what works for you, and then double down on that. If it's shapes and painting, keep doing shapes and painting. Obviously, experiment. Don't just get bogged down into one thing. Try different things and variations of that one thing. I would always say experiment, but tip number 3, in summary, is shapes or line, it doesn't matter. Do what you like doing, because that's going to bring you back to the desk to keep doing it. And that's actually what we're trying to look for the most. The last thing you want to do is sit down and do something that you don't want to do. The results of that are going to be abysmal at best. So do what you like doing. Tip number 4, and that is to do with brushes. Look, I'm an advocate of brushes don't really matter, but they kind of do at the same time. Now I'll explain why, and then I'll give you the summary of that. And that is, some brushes work better for certain situations, and some brushes don't work better, or sometimes can make it worse, and a lot worse, to be perfectly honest. So this tip is an actual tip. Like, I'm going to share something with you guys that actually works from application. Grab a brush pack. If you've already got one, great. What you want to do is you want to try to draw a very simple object with that brush pack. And you want to maybe use 2 to 3 brushes that you've already used that you think are kind of good. And you want to use those brushes to draw, let's say, an apple. I would use I'd do like a black and white study of an apple, and I would use those brushes. Limit yourself with those brushes, and what it's going to teach you is what brushes actually work for what when it comes to application. The big misconception that junior artists have or younger artists have is they go online and they type in, brush packs, and they find a bunch of professional art packs. And the problem is they don't actually know why they're using a specific brush. They don't know why that brush is used in the first place. So they try to use, let's say, a brush that would be used for texturing a tree, and they use that to draw the entire, skin on a character. And that's where we get into a very weird deviation from the purpose of brushes in the first place. They're not supposed to be used like that. Normally they're developed by the artist for a specific reason, and then you're taking them and you're using them for something completely random. But the way to backtrack that person's brushes and figure out why they're used like they are for them is by studying simple materials, simple objects even, and seeing if that brush is making your life harder or easier. So tip number 4, deconstruct the brushes that you're actually using and study with them to figure out how to use them. Because when people refer to brush efficiency or brush work in a painting or in a design, the differences between one looking good and one looking bad is the person actually has the knowledge of how a brush is supposed to be used in the context of the brush and what it's actually doing. And finally, tip number 5. This is a good one. Study from photos. Don't study from, do study everything at one point, but early on in your journey, we should be doing life studies. We should be doing real life things. We should be going outside and observing the world around us. And we should be doing all of that. So a really simple one to finish off, guys. Here's the final painting that I ended up coming up with. This is to emphasize all of those tips. And this is obviously where I'm at the moment with my studies for the last 10 years. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.